we're out after catfish. Now we're actually out to Alexander Reservoir, which is right next to Soda Springs. There's only a few places in southeastern Idaho where they actually plant catfish. We've done one of the popular ones, or one of the very only ones, up in the Idaho Falls, Rexburg area, and that's the Jim Moore Pond. Alexander Reservoir is really the best place in all of southeastern Idaho where they've stocked a lot more catfish over the years. So we decided to finally make the trip out here to see if we can actually get in on some good catfishing. Of course, as you can see, it's nearly dark right now. So we got here early enough to just try to get a decent spot. Not having ever been here, we're just kind of just winging it here. We're on the inlet side of the lake, so on the east part of it. And anyways, we got some of the poles out. We're going to get a few more out and see if we can't catch some catfish tonight.
Over to it.
We're going catfishing. I am so ready to catch a catfish.
As mentioned, we got there with plenty of daylight right after a big rainstorm. We figured we needed time to find a decent spot to be ready for the limited hours we had available to fish. Catfish are much more active at night than daytime, so that's why we were focusing the fishing for just after dark. I guess we need to hook everything up first with, let's do treble hooks on everything. If you're wondering where Alexander Reservoir is, it's right next to Soda Springs. In fact, you can't miss it. It runs right along the highway as you enter the west side of the town. Catfish really need warm water to thrive, and this lake fits the criteria as well as we can for our climate. In fact, Alexander is one of the family fishing waters in southeast Idaho, meaning that fish are stocked here on a regular basis. Rainbow trout, smallmouth bass, perch, and catfish all call this lake home. The only other two spots I know of that have catfish in all of southeastern Idaho are the McTucker ponds near Blackfoot and the Jim Moore Pond near Roberts. With there still being a little light left, Nathan hurried up and tried unsuccessfully to cast for some smallmouth. It just turned out to be too shallow and mucky where we were. Well, as we're setting these poles up, for catfish, they are really just going after scent. They come out more at nighttime, and that's when they're going around. They can be in dirty water just because they're using those feelers and just trying to use the scent. So we're using some really yummy stuff here. Chicken liver is one of the things we're using. We've also got some worms. You can use those. Hot dog. We've got some hot dog we're going to be trying, and just a variety of different things here. But on this one, I'm going to go ahead and throw on some chicken liver. It obviously, can come off, and so I actually have some magic thread that I'll use, and I'll wrap this on here a little bit just to help hold that liver from falling off too easily. But anyways, just stinky, smelly, sticky, yucky kind of bait. That's what we're using here, and we'll find out if it works or not. After the sun went down, we figured the catfish would start to get a little more active. We had all our poles out, some with liver and scented marshmallows, some with hot dogs and so forth. Now it was just a waiting game. When Kate's pole nearly bit in half on a hit, it was Aubrey who saw it and made a mad dash to grab the pole before it went in the water. She passed the pole on to Kate, who was more than excited to grab a hold and continue the fight.
First catch of the night.
As he's grunting.
All right, slow down. I was actually quite surprised at the strength of this catfish, as most catfish I've caught in Idaho haven't been very big. However, this was obviously a very good sized one. Cade being Cade and only 6, he was having a tough time of fighting the fish, but wasn't about to let it win.
So it took the bait and jumped up.
What do you got, bud?
A catfish.
When he finally got the fish in close, we saw why this catfish could put up such a good fight. It wasn't a catfish, just a big carp. You got a carp! That's why he was fighting so strong. Keep going! That's all right, it's a fish.
I'm surprised it didn't break this.
Needless to say, that didn't make Cade smile any smaller. He didn't care what it was. He just knew it was a big fish.
A carp! I caught a carp, not a catfish. Biggest fish that I've ever caught.
Was that cool?
Yeah. Bye, carp!
As big of a fish as Cade just got, it wasn't the one we wanted, and so Cade was more than happy to turn this one loose.
Carp.
Throw it that way.
Ah.
Fish on, huh?
A carp on.
Surprisingly, it wasn't long before Cade's pole started getting hit again. Once more it was Aubrey that was there to grab the pole.
Same pole Cade caught his carp on is getting some more hits.
Unlike the carp, however, this one was just playing with the bait. She couldn't tell if it was just crawdads fighting over the bait or an actual catfish nibbling on it. When she didn't feel any more nibbles for a while, she put the pole back down only to have it once again get hit. There was definitely something there. If you feel it, give it a set. When it hit a little harder, Aubrey set the hook and sure enough, had a fish on the other end. Since Cade was very adamant about this being his pole, she nicely passed it over to him so he could once again bring in the fish.
Well, I caught another fish, but I don't know if it's carp again.
Unluckily for Cade, the line suddenly went slack.
Got away.
Took all your bait. As I mentioned, we had gotten here right after a rainstorm. Even though it cleared up, it was still a particularly cold night, and for that we were sure glad to have the camp chef firing for heat. You know, sometimes I'm good with smoke as kids love playing in the fire, but this time I really didn't want to have to worry about bringing wood and fighting smoke in my face while we waited for fish to bite, and so the propane-fed fire ring was the perfect choice. Not only did it keep us warm, but it allowed my kids to cook hot dogs as well. Another recommendation I have if you head out catfishing is to bring a glow stick. These work great to hang on the ends of your rod so you know if something's playing with your bait. Even pretty subtle nibbles can be easily seen when your glow stick starts jiggling. That way you could have some poles spread out about 30 yards away from the fire and still know right when a fish, or in our case even a crawdad, was interested in your bait.
We might not catch a single catfish and these are to blame. We've missed a couple hits, but all our bait has been stolen off our hooks from crawdads down there. So I decided to throw a little piece of hot dog out there and finally caught one.
With Nate catching that one, the boys quickly grabbed some more hot dog pieces, tied them to a string, and put them just in the water where the crawdads were busy looking for food.
Well, we're having more luck catching crawdad than we are catching catfish.
We found that crawdads can pull hard enough to make you think it's a fish, but it usually didn't take long to tell that it was just crawdads messing with you. Reeling in the line usually confirmed it, as they were pretty good at stealing all your bait. Every now and then a fish would take your line as the pole would get hit hard, and that was the case with this next one.
Fish on!
This time it wasn't a crawdad. There was a fish hooked on the other end. And of course, Aubrey was the one to get it.
It's 11:20, finally caught our first catfish.
It didn't feel like a big fish, but it was obvious that it was indeed a fish. And with it being caught at night, this time we could be pretty sure it was a catfish. As you can see, it wasn't real big, only about a 14-incher, but beggars can't be choosers, and so we were just happy to have caught at least one catfish so far.
Well, it's like 11:20, first catfish. We've been out here since about 7, so let's hope we catch some more.
As you look at this fish that Aubrey just caught, is there any question why these are called catfish? We kept at it for a while longer with the occasional hit that got you excited, but overall, we just couldn't seem to interest more than crawdads that kept stealing our bait. Well, it's now just a little bit past midnight, and that's kind of the time frame we said we'd come out and fish till. And you know what? The catfish thing, it's kind of got me these last few years. I've never been able to go out and catch more than a couple catfish, and all we got today was one. So between the gas and everything to get out here, that was a very expensive catfish, but we did come out and have a good time with the whole family, actually. It's 2 days later, and we're here at the McTucker ponds. This is the only place I have never gone catfishing out of the 3 places where they stock catfish in southeastern Idaho. And so we figured, you know what? Let's not call it quits with just catching that one catfish at Alexander. Let's head over here to the McTucker ponds and see what happens. So here we are. We got here after dark. Got some poles out. Now we just got to see if we can have a little bit better luck this time. Where are the McTucker ponds? Well, the McTucker ponds are located right at the north end of American Falls Reservoir. You can jump on Google Earth and find them real easily. Just look for the 8 little ponds all next to each other and you've got them. I don't know if one is better than another, so we just picked one with an easy spot to park.
Whew, I hate these nuts.
Well, if the first few minutes were any sign of what was to come, it could be a much better night of fishing, as within a short time, Abby had a fish on.
These gnats are killing me.
Got it, Cade?
A mini catfish.
First catfish.
I got the first fish at McTucker Pond, and it puts the girls at 1 and boys at 0. But I've had a lot of fun. It's been 5 minutes, and I'm having fun.
So she said it didn't take too long to get this one on, so hopefully we'll have a little better luck. It is quite a bit smaller. They've planted about 5,000 fish here this year in all the McTucker ponds, but we've only got 3 or 4 pulls out, and we've already got this one. So hopefully we'll get a few more fish here, maybe get a little bigger ones if we're lucky, but at least the fishing's on. Right after Abby released her catfish, we had a couple pulls that kept getting nibbles. Riley kept bouncing back and forth between the two, so to make it easier, we had Luke take one pull and Riley the other so they could be ready to set the hook. Meanwhile, Nate had one toying with him on his pole as well.
Well, this one hit it hard, so I set it, and he's just a little one, so he flew out of the water over to the bank, and he almost hit me. Oh, Riley's over there catching one. They're just little dudes, but we're gonna let this one go.
Got him, Cade? Little guy. You gotta catch some bigger ones.
Teeny guy. Luke was over there getting his hook out of his catfish, and I had one playing with mine, and I finally got him, but he's a little one, so we're gonna let him go.
We were missing lots of hits and losing some bait, but unlike Alexander Reservoir, this time it was catfish stealing our bait, and we could deal with that. Using chicken livers again, the catfish obviously seemed to like it. After lots of missed bites, Nate hooked into his first.
Got a little one. Hopefully you get some bigger ones.
Next it was Cade's turn. Woo! Bring it in quick.
He's a little skimmer.
Oh, wait. No, sit on the ground, Caden, now.
Well, I got my first catfish of the night for me.
Catching my first catfish tonight. We thought the gnats wouldn't be too bad, like the last trip we did. But they go everywhere, down your shirt, in your hair. They're terrible. But I still caught my fish.
These slug bugs all over. I'm getting my second, hopefully, catfish of the night.
Well, as you can see, they're just catching them left and right out here. There's especially a couple spots that really seem to get them. Other poles that haven't had a hit, but we've got a couple spots that doesn't take more than a few minutes. They're small, we're catching a bunch. The biggest problem, however, are the gnats. There are thousands and thousands of gnats, and of course the lights attract them. We have to have lights to be able to fish right now, but that's the only downside right now is we're swallowing them. They're in fact, there's one in my throat right now, and they go up your nose and all over the place, and the more you have a light on, the more you get, but at least we're catching fish this time.
We've been just using liver off the bottom, but I decided to use a worm floating off of the bobber, and within a minute I got one.
Well, it quickly became obvious that catching catfish tonight was not going to be a problem. We were catching so many that I quit filming all the fish that were caught, but when Nate yelled that he had a big one on, we all ran over.
You can hear it splashing out there.
This one hit his pole hard and was stealing line, so he was pretty excited.
Oh! Broke!
It's a big one though, huh?
Yeah, it just...
Well, even though he lost it, that at least gave us hopes of catching bigger ones than just these planter-sized fish. Right after that, Riley did prove that there were some at least a little bit bigger than what we've been catching.
Well, Nate just missed one that felt like a big one, and then I came over and caught keepable size.
Well, it's later than we'd planned. The fishing was so good we just kind of stayed a little bit longer and let everybody catch fish. We caught so many that we just quit filming, actually. You know, it was just fish after fish there for a little while, and there was always somebody, it seemed like, catching a fish. So it turned out pretty good. Nathan's got the last one here, a big trophy here, maybe 8 inches. So, you know, one of the smaller ones. He got the one that was peeling line off and then broke his line. So there apparently are some bigger ones in here. Wish we could have seen that. And then Riley got one keeper that we're taking home to the frying pan. You know, but either way, we had a great time. So if you're looking to just catch some catfish, you know, I think the McTucker ponds here are a pretty good place to come.